How's it going? Hello. Thank you for tuning in today. This is going to be a fun, very fun episode. I hope you all are having a fantastic time. I do want to say a PSA before I get into my set today. There has been a lot of talk recently in the past few days about, you know, the drive and ambition to contribute to the community and the willingness to create innovation and problem solve for a lot of issues, systemic issues that we're going through within Miami. And so one thing that I want to use this platform in my show to remind everyone that's listening is that please check in on your friends. Please, like, just reach out, send a text, do a spontaneous phone call, send a few vocal messages, just talk to them, right? They're humans too, and we need to feel supported and loved in our community. That's typically overlooked because we prioritize the professionalism, or maybe we prioritize metrics or money, or other things, maybe our own personal stuff in life, right? That we don't consider other people and what they're going through. So, yeah, just check in with your friends, your community members, show them love, show them respect, help them zoom out. And yeah, I'm gonna post a story on my IG in a few hours addressing how I feel. I spent the whole day yesterday kind of contemplating what I saw on a particular story. So just wanted to start my set off like that. Just want to remind everyone to be that light for your community members, for people that you know and love in your friend circle, in your scene, no matter where you may be, whether it's in Miami or outside of Miami. And yeah, just reach out and remind them that they're important and that they're loved. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and start this set. Thanks for tuning in.
एक एक चीज की जोड़ी होती तो घर में एक बीवियों की जोड़ी होती तो बोलो गुरु बोलो होता क्या एक एक चीज की जोड़ी होती तो घर में एक बीवियों की जोड़ी होती तो बोलो गुरु बोलो होता क्या
Yo, shout out Pierre, man. Reality check, unbelievable. Out of Paris, like unreal. So I have a bit of a surprise for y'all. We're going to go ahead and continue what we did last time, about 2 weeks back, where my wife Sylvia will be asking me some interesting questions. The community response was interesting from her community and myself. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this Q&A, God willing, because Hermie is asleep. So yeah, I'm going to play this last track, and then we're going to get right into it, okay? This last track is by Flo Dan, and the track is called Lightwork. The lyrics on this one is unreal. Like, I just totally mind blown by it, and I hope y'all enjoy Flo Dan's track. And thank you for tuning in.
Lightwork. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade bun make me just get wheezy. Light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. So my ground never wish like genie. Light work. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade bun make me just get light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. Yeah. Believe me, yo. You gotta set location. I'm the coach when it comes to the rotation. Got 'em on the bench ready for the occasion. Light work. Money's gotta run so I don't chase 'em. I never run time, but they're so patient, so blatant. Standing ovation. Light work. Collectors, items, or no masons. Never see me in a cool house or station. No information, don't ask me a Ross. Light work. Them boy get bodied in the revolution. Columbia neckties, not a lie statement. When orders get sent like a Medellin boss. Light work. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade up on member just get wheezy. Light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. So my bra never wish like genie. Light work. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade up on member just get light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. Yeah. Believe me. Yo, we now wanna make it malfunction. Gotta push from the galley at the yard, we there. No stress when I wanna build a suit for the meds. They got limbs so they gone clear. No bends over here, just suits and they got man a pro with the tools. Check the vocals, got every day we wash out the lead with the stabs. Light work. I will let them check all the act to the stash. Carry cold cash for the service, and if it ain't worth it, bust up, come on, I bust tax. Minimal effort when I release the match. Get a gal like quick one night, just she love that. Default settings when I'm talking fast, no eye contact. Bad like that. Light work. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade up on me, just get wheezy. Light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. So my bra never wish like genie. Light work. You know me already, I made this look easy. Light work. High grade up on me, just get light work. Gal out the road one, squeeze me. Light work. Yeah, believe me. Cash rules everything around me. We got the facts that will make a place cloudy. Yeah, let me circle around. Ask about me. Bad like that. Bad like that. Bad like that.
And that was Flowdan Lightwork. So we are now going to get into the conversation part of the show. Hermes has decided to wake up the moment I made my announcement, which is exactly how the universe works. So we're going to try to do this with his permission, if he grants us the ability to do an interview. Hermes, do you have anything to say? You heard it right from him.
All right, so hello everybody. I am glad to be having this opportunity to interview Nick again, because last time, with Hermes, we were just like, kind of like our attention was, split between the interview and him. So today I actually wanted to focus on two different topics. The first one has to do with your music projects and future projects I would like to ask you, is there something that you're working on when it comes to your music right now that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so I am pretty much putting out the 5th of August this 3-track EP called Alliance. And I have Justin Roiju, another MCR resident. Oh, now he has something to say. Hold on. Okay. So we have Justin Roiju doing the artwork for my EP, my upcoming EP called Alliance. It's actually available now for pre-order. We put out the single, which is Fourth Root Race. I don't believe I have it on me, but I can pull it up on my phone, and I mean, it's fine. Yeah. Maybe next week I can play one of the tracks that's already out. But yeah, so that is going to be on the 5th of August. You can pre-order it now. And it's a 3-tracker. The single's already out. It's a nice tortoise that Justin made, that Roiju made using an AI software, which is pretty cool. It's called Midjourney. And yeah, it's just like, it's very fun being able to work with and collaborate with people in the community on a project that means a lot to me. So, and I guess the intentionality of this, which is for the most part private and internal, that I've only mentioned to people that are collaborators and supporters, is it has to do with indigenous culture and kind of the alliances that were created between, you know, indigenous tribes throughout Florida and Southern America, as we know now, like the southern part of America, and Central America, what we know now. So yeah, this is just kind of like an ode to those traditions, specifically in the part of Mexico, in that region. So the Mayan civilization as well, outside of the indigenous tribes. So yeah, just continuing that kind of intentionality from Parajungle, less about my subjective lineage and what I connect to in a tribalistic context that goes back many generations, hundreds of years, but kind of like more of a widespread generic appreciation and love for other traditions. And so the songs are inspired by those civilizations and cultures and tribes. So yeah, comes out 5th August. Alliance. Yeah.
Where can we find it?
Yeah, so it's in my bio on IG, but it's mainly on my Bandcamp. So on my Bandcamp, there's a description which just says Alliance, and then it has Justin's name and Angela's name. Shout out to Control Opt. He's doing the mastering. He's done the mastering, and yeah, that's where you can find it, on my Bandcamp. So Nicholas Chifadia, if you just search it on Bandcamp, or go to my IG and it should be in my bio. So, yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you about your future projects. Do you have future projects? Do you have places where you're gonna perform live besides here? Places where we can see you live around Miami or around the world?
So this is confirmed, at least on my end. I don't know. I don't believe that there's any public statement about this, but I will be performing on the 30th of this month. More announcements will be made, but it's an unknown location right now. It's a known venue, but I don't believe the promoters and coordinators have made it public. So yes, there is a show that I'll be playing this month, and I haven't played in a while. Maybe it's because I'm blacklisted from the greater club circuit. Maybe not. Maybe there's just favoritism and elitism taking place where I'm kind of left out of certain conversations and they don't even bother throwing offers at me. But it's great re-performing, approaching performance again in Miami with more altruistic intentionality, and working with people professionally that I'm more in sync with ideologically. And it's not all about the metrics and the finances. It's about the integrity of the work itself and respecting seniority and the veteran aspect of it, you know, being a part of a scene for many years. So I'm honored to be working with these individuals. I'm also honored to have worked with those other people in the past, and I love them very much. It's great to be able to be offered to perform in a setting like this on the 30th. And so outside of that, I will be traveling to Berlin, and more information will be released about this soon enough. But there is a interesting crypto DAO 2-day event series, and so I've been invited to not only perform but also to be a part of a panel and to talk a little bit about MCR in front of the community out in Berlin. So that is going to be very fun. And then obviously 3 Points in October. So those are 3 upcoming places that you can hear me spin and hear me speak. So, yep.
So I wanted to say to those that are listening live right now, they can send me a private message on Instagram in case they have like questions that they want to ask you. So I know that earlier you were talking about at the beginning of your DJ set that you saw a story that made you reflect and contemplate. I don't know if you'd like to take this chance to talk about what you wanted to talk about, but in case you do want to talk about what you wanted to talk about, this is the occasion to let us know what's on your mind. What did you see?
So I'll do both. I'll talk about it now, and then I'll also make a story about it so that it's a little immortalized for 24 hours. Because these archives are typically not looked at. They're overlooked, but it's more of archiving history. And I'm sure that this will be watched in weeks to come or months to come. It's not for the short-term gain. It's for long-term, historical references, right? So what I will say is this. Sometimes it can be very daunting and overwhelming for someone that has put in a lot of work to be othered or to be considered an outsider. So it's funny, I was talking to Pris last night. We were having an internal meeting, and I was mentioning how I just got stopped, they stopped inviting me to dinner parties, like the community that I used to be involved in terms of the old circuit inside of Miami. And so it's not that clickiness is emerging again. I would argue that the opposite is happening as a result of this elitism that's forming. But we have to consider the fact that there are people that used to work with very important individuals in the city. Now they're important, but it was purely energetics. And to this day, it still is partially energetics, which makes all of this even more conflicting. But these are still community members. So this individual that I saw their story, it broke my fucking heart, honestly, because she put her blood, sweat, and tears. She got sick. She got, everything for the community. And long term, it's just been, and it's not right for me to talk on her behalf without having discussed things with her beforehand. But she deserves way more respect on her name. And meanwhile, we're looking at other people, right? We're looking at the same circulated talent that gets pushed in this city. So what ends up happening is that there's a hierarchy in place of people that perform a lot inside of major institutions. And then we need to create our own institutions that try to run parallel, but don't have the same widespread adoption or marketing campaigns or budgets. So it's a long haul and it's a grind. And for those communities that are outsiders, that are considered outsiders, right, that are still veterans. And so that respect is never met for those types of individuals. So, going back to the beginning of my set where I made the PSA, the announcement, just talk to people, reach out, that feel like they're not being supported and they're not loved by their community, or that they feel like they're ousted, or they feel like their ideals are not in sync with everyone else around them. It's actually quite the opposite. And so the more you effectively communicate and you show love to people, your brothers and sisters that deserve that love, the more they feel like they're a part of something bigger. And the only thing that we can do is try. All I know is that it broke my fucking heart seeing that. I've literally spent the last day, I was talking to Mauricio about this too, I spent the last day deeply internalizing that statement, because I think we all feel that to a certain degree. And I mean, definitely in the past we felt that, but we've reacted. I think we've all created, for those that have overcome it, we've all created a system to be able to keep ourselves in check and zoom out a little bit and be like, no, 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 no. We need to be the change that we want to see. That's the only way out. So again, it's going to be a long haul, and it's difficult to be able to play politics and to balance things out and to juggle the energies. But this is not the same Miami that existed 4 years ago. This is not the same Miami that existed 3 years ago. There are different players involved. There's different energies involved, and we need to adapt. And so we can be diplomatic and see where both sides are coming from, or we can be extremist and choose a side. Everyone has their own ideal, right? Like, I'm not here to tell people what to believe in. All I can say is diplomacy and centrism allows for synergy to take place and neutralizes energy. So that's the stance that I'm taking. Everyone has a motive to do what they do. Some people do it out of greed. Some people have no cap on their greed. Other people do, and they try their best. So I would just encourage people that have the ability to communicate to veterans and seniors in the community that have been apart for 10 years or 5 years, or even newcomers that may feel this way, right? I don't want to exclude this to just like people that have been part of the scene for many years. Even people that are new to the scene, like, make them feel like they're seen, make them feel like they're loved, make them feel like they're welcomed, right? Summer has talked about that this same topic in great depth with Charlie. Like, she's like new here 2-3 years, right? And she has been supported so much by the Boombox family and by the Annex family. That's so important. Like, by internet friends, like, that's so important. Like, we need to feel like there's no borders, there's no boundaries, and that we're loved by the people around us that see our value, that honor us, and don't want to extract a targeted audience, a shared targeted audience, or a market, right? That fucks you up long term. And the community notices. Like, the community sees it. Like, it's not like the community doesn't see it, you know? Like, everyone is aware of that. So we just need to have conversations like this, whether it's private, whether it's public. We need to start discussing about these things, because one thing is, like, for sure, we can't pretend like these problems don't exist, which has honestly been happening to this point. Like people that are hyper-conformist, they're like, I got my paycheck, I'm good. Like, oh, you don't have your paycheck? Then sorry about that, your problem. And it's like, no, that's not helping our brothers and sisters. Like, and so it becomes cronyism. You hire someone not because they're good at what they do, but because you know them. And that's not qualification. That's not qualification. So it's like, ideally it's a mix. It's a referral. So you know the person and they're really good at what they do. So, but again, we need more community discussions like this, because if not, it's just going to be an echo chamber of me saying my own perception of everything. Everyone has a perception, and it starts with reaching out. It starts with communicating with people that feel like they're underprivileged, that are blacklisted. I know that feeling. Now I know that feeling. People that are exclusively not getting opportunities because there's politics internally on teams, and there's always a battle. Maybe half the team is like, yeah, this person has been here for many years, and the other half is like, no, fuck them because da-da-da-da-da. So just show support and love to that person that may feel that way, because it's hard. It's hard. All the dimensions and layers, and it's difficult to consider and contemplate and work through. So that's what I'd recommend to someone that knows an individual that has been felt ousted, or that they're outsiders in a community, whether it's new or, you know, old, their relationship to that city or that community, specifically the entertainment and nightlife industry and community. So, yep.
Yeah, there are things that is like, I don't know if this is the right place to speak about them, because it's.
This is my show, right? Like, I have a residency here, so we can talk about whatever we want. I just want to say that, right? There doesn't need to be a filter, because I have the liberty and freedom to speak my mind. And if not, I'm being suppressed or oppressed because my freedom of speech is being revoked from me. So I just want to say there are no limitations, and I'm open to talk about things. I won't say people's names directly, but I'm open to talk about specific things. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I really appreciate about you, and that I really look up to is your ability to still hang out with people that I would never hang out with if they were to do something like that to me, or still talk to people because you are just such a compassionate person, and you're able to go beyond. And not only that, but also see all the layers, because you enlighten me on things that I never thought about, like things that could be happening behind the scenes of the behind the scenes, and behind the scenes of the behind the scenes of the basically, like what could be actually causing, you know, all of this to happen to the community members. And we were talking about and honestly, like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to express it with the right words, but you know, this is small now. Okay, it's a huge thing, because you were able to put it together, you, Mauricio, and Philip, and you know, all the community that came together. The fact that you found a place, that you are finding people that are resonating. The place found you because you were emitting a certain frequency, and so those people, you know, have been able to reach you. It just like they were looking for somebody to occupy the space and bring this energy here. But now it's like kind of small, right? And we were talking about, you mentioned it like a few weeks ago. You were like, imagine if this becomes bigger. This is like a child, right? And becomes bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden you have to either decide whether, you know, you kill it because of the fact that you don't have the funds or whatever reason, or you give it, you know, to adoption, and somebody else takes over it. Do you understand what I mean? Do you remember that conversation? So having to make that decision, a person that has something like this, that has to make a decision, or a group of people that has to make that decision, is something that I never thought about. So you're able to go beyond and not just like point the finger and just say like you are bad or you are evil. You're able to go beyond and say, well, like what you were saying, there is a motive, there is a reason as to why people act a certain way. And I think that in Miami also it is easy, and this is my personal opinion, to give opportunities to people that look a certain way or that sound a certain way. And you know, if you look a little bit different, or if you just do not dress in a specific way or do not have a specific sound, then you might not have the same opportunities, even if you might be in the scene since, I don't know, the 90s or whatever. But anyways, that's my personal opinion.
About that, it doesn't only have to do with your appearance and your branding on social media, which is a huge part of it. It has to do with the frequency of how much you post, and how many followers you have, and how many likes you get, and how many plays you have on Spotify. All that shit, all of it. It doesn't have to do with you as a person anymore. It has nothing to do with you as a person. It has to do with the metrics. And that's the thing with like corporatism, right? Like when you do a partnership and you're negotiating something, they want to see the numbers. They want to see the numbers go like this. If they see the numbers go like this or like this, you're already at a disadvantage to negotiate, right? So again, this isn't the same Miami that was pre-COVID. COVID fucked up a lot of small businesses. It destroyed many small businesses, and it killed a lot of small businesses, and it forced people to find funding elsewhere or to kill their babies, right? Like their organizations, their companies, their small businesses, because they didn't have the funds for it, right? So, and that's really difficult to do, to just say, hey, like we can't even operate anymore because we don't have the financial backing for it. So we're not Europe. Europe, when you have an arts organization, you get that shit funded by the government, and they have the budget for it. Yeah, they got higher taxes, but they support organizations that we give our energy and our life force to, right? So if we want to create something and we go to Europe, the odds of it being funded is way higher by the government than over here, right? So I just want to put that out there. Typically, most funding for organizations and projects come from VCs or from angel investors, and they're very divorced and separate from the culture. They perceive the culture as this thing that, you know, of the 80%, 20% could be residual buyers and come back and do, it becomes metrics. It becomes numerical. We become a number. Our cosmic soul, our divine spirit becomes a number. So I become one. You become one. We become two. That's all that we are. And then we have funneling systems in leads, for advertising, and for marketing. There's so much negation of potentiality inside of a person when you just consider them one. So going back to your point, it's not just about the superficial appearance of how you dress, the kind of shoes you wear, the kind of drip you got on, like your haircut, wow, sunglasses, fuck yeah, I'm wearing Fendi and Gucci. It's not just about that. It's also about how many followers you got. And it's about, if you emailed 30 people that are curators at Spotify and one of them or two of them put them on a playlist, that's what determines whether you get booked or not. That determines whether or not people decide to reach out to you or not. Because the moment a big thing happens, then people reach out and it's like, oh, this was so predictable. Like, now you want to come, now you want to offer me more financially, and you respect me more because other people have found value in me. You have not found value in me yourself as an organization or as a group of organizations. So, and I'm just being real. I'm being honest, right? Like, this is the shift that Miami has gone through as of recently in the past few years, and no one is at fault. This is a really, really, really important point that's being made. No one is at fault. The people that are numerically obsessed or mathematically obsessed with these metrics, and the people that are swept under the rug, because the people that are obsessed with metrics now in the community are what up, Justice? People inside the community that are being swept under the rug, they're just thinking in the old paradigm. The old paradigm is, again, I'm a cosmic soul. I am a singular divine being.
Exactly.
So anyways, there's the old paradigm, and then there's the new paradigm, where the only people that will succeed in Miami, they're not just DJs and producers, they're also social media managers for themselves. So they're making sure that they put out 20 stories a day, 10 stories a day. They're marketing every day. Their eyes are bleeding. They don't want to be on social media, but they have to, because if not, they won't be relevant because of the algorithm. So success is determined now in this city, and opportunities are given to people that, and I'm just talking about the main circuit, to people that are obsessed with posting on social media. And that does not determine the value of the soul. That does not determine the talent of an individual. So that shift has been made. They're in this new paradigm. They're not willing to find value in people that are overlooked or newcomers. So we just got to have hope and faith that they change and they pivot the direction. They have the choice. You all have the choice. If you're listening to this, which I'm sure you are, because Chief Man Miami passes around really quickly, I'm sure like people copy and paste this video and be like, oh my God, look at what Nick is saying about da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da. Like, go ahead. I don't, like, let's go. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a community talk. Let's let it be invite only and invite the people, right? Like, let's do it. I'm down for it. Let's think about solutionism. But my main point in saying all this is, like, all I'm trying to say is, like, it's not too late for these organizations and these mainstream institutions that are profiting off of the underground to pivot and find value in the people that have put in the work for many years outside of myself and newcomers. It's not too late. You can make the decision. Now, obviously, many people in the community are wounded and they have trauma built up because of the relations and all the rest of it, but it's not too late. You can still pivot and show respect and honor. It's not too much work to put new people on. It really isn't. You just put a cycle and you don't do repeating performers. So let's have a conversation about it. Hermes agrees.
Let's give him the headphones or something. So I wanted to just pivot like completely 360 degrees and ask you, how did you get into crypto?
How many minutes we got? Because oh, we got 30 minutes? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, okay. So I got into crypto. Actually, a friend mentioned it to me, I have to say 2016. And then Nick Leone mentioned it to me, I think in 2017 or 2018. And shout out to Nick Leone. He's like, yeah, I got this thing, I got crypto, and that refueled my interest into it, because back in 2016 I was like, you know, like whatever. I kind of believed the mainstream media a little too much. So then when he mentioned that to me, I decided to research it in more depth, and I instantly went to meetups and volunteer groups inside of Miami, right? So I remember this, I distinctly remember I went to meetup.com and I typed in cryptocurrency meetup, and the first thing that I found was Crypto Mondays. Obviously, Nick doesn't know about crypto to this degree. He doesn't really care too much about it, but he kind of ignited a fire, an independent research fire that I kind of carried with me. So I went to these meetups, and about 5-6 months into going, you know, every Tuesday, every other Tuesday, Monday, I eventually met and got to know Erica, Gemma, and Scott Spiegel, and Maria. Her last name escapes me now. Very, very, very important individuals that changed my life forever. So crypto allowed for me to perceive the traditional banking system in a totally different way. The Federal Reserve, the US government, right? And it allowed for me to question the sand that our organizational structures are built on, the for-profit and non-profit structures, and the inefficiencies in our modern organizational structures. So this helped me kind of perceive a different way outside of the system that I didn't have before. So essentially all of this started years ago, and it evolved into actually a full-time job from volunteerism. So I started going to these meetups, these Crypto Monday meetups. And then from the Crypto Monday meetups, I'm like, oh, do y'all need help? Da 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 da. And then again, 5-6 months into it, they were talking about creating a startup. And then I worked at the startup. It's called the Blockchain Center. It's not active anymore. That Erica was the CEO of. And yeah, the rest is history. After that, I worked for about 6 months with them as a creative director professionally. And yeah, met a bunch of really cool people. Still in contact with pretty cool people. And that's how I got into crypto.
So there is a lot of different opinions on the topic, because depending on who is speaking, they say whatever their perception is on it. But again, here you help me find like value in something that I would have never found value in. And for the first time this year, I actually had to use it, even if we still have to give that couple our information. But somebody from Argentina, because of their situation over there and how effed up the system is, and the fact that they can only have $200 American dollars available every month, and they have to pay like 35% taxes or $35. I don't remember if the percentage or the dollars, but it's insane. The fact that this girl said that she makes less than $20 a day working. So actually crypto can be a solution for those countries, and that's also overlooked. That's something that we do not consider, because as you were saying, you know, we have our paycheck, so we think about our little garden, our little family, and it's hard for us to just think about humanity and think about others, because we are just trying so hard to survive. So I wanted to ask you, like, is there something, how can we make this topic that is very, like, I don't know, in my mind, ethereal or transparent or not concrete, not physical, I don't know if you understand the question. Like, okay, awesome, thanks.
Okay, so the easiest way to make crypto this weird technology thing that most people overcomplicate, especially since I am in a creative institution now that's owned by the community, the most immediate thing is art. If you create a piece of art, and if you create a digital version of that piece of art, and there's two versions, one physical and one digital, okay? That is the most immediate application to what you just presented as a question. right? So what most people don't understand is that when you buy a physical piece of art, there's something called a provenance that is created, okay? And that provenance is written down or typed into an Excel spreadsheet, right? Provenance, is it?
What is a provenance?
Yeah, so provenance is the history of ownership from the creation of the artist continued, right? Indefinitely. So, for example, the George Perez Museum was showing Andy Warhol and Marisol, one of Warhol's contemporaries. And there are people that own those pieces. They own Marisol's pieces, they own Warhol's pieces. And they donate, these families donate, or these organizations or these funds and trusts that own the art pieces donate to the museum or lend it to the museum for a specific amount of time so that it's on view, right? So typically provenance is private. You do not have access to provenance, that information. When it comes to the digital version of your art, if you decide to make it an NFT or on the blockchain, that's public. All of it is public, right? Another huge bonus to this is every time you sell your art piece on the blockchain or through NFTs or using crypto, there is a royalty, a fixed royalty that you can have embedded. So let's say you sell it for $1, right? $1. You convert the Ethereum or Sol or Polygon, and it's just $1 US, right? 15% of that after you sell it goes back to you, right? Now let's say it sells for $100, your art piece. You get $15, right? Same thing with 1,000, 10,000. So, and we're not thinking long term. We're not thinking in 30 years. We're not thinking we're creating musical movements, new genres. We're not thinking, oh, we're creating art movements like AI is an art movement. We don't understand that we're living history right now. So we take it for granted. So this is a phase. Like eventually corporations will migrate completely on the blockchain and banks. Like it's inevitable. Even supply chain. We're having supply chain issues right now. People just don't do the research, so they don't know the applications of all this. But the most immediate response that I have for you is we gotta clean up a little bit. The most immediate response that I have for your question is the artistic one, which is once you make a digital and a physical version of this, that changes everything.
And in case you are not an artist, do you know any way in which that can be useful to a normal person that has a 9-to-5 and just wants to get into it and from those countries?
100%. Okay, you said from those countries? Or just like any country? Okay, I would say put like 5% of your paycheck into a cryptocurrency, especially now because it's so easy to get in. Like the price has been reduced significantly, and then this is when like price action, like this is the time to enter essentially. The time to enter is not when it's 100,000 or 60,000. The time to enter is now, where it's currently 20,000, and it is incredibly low, right? And most people don't understand this because they buy high and they sell low, right? Which is the opposite of how you should maneuver and operate. But that's purely from an investment standpoint, okay? So what I would say is if you have a weekly paycheck, a monthly paycheck, just 5% of what you earn if you have a 9-to-5, like 5%, 10%, just diversify, like put it into, 50% of that 5% or 10%, put 50% into Ethereum, 50% into Bitcoin. So I wouldn't mess around with anything else. I would say mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum. I wouldn't, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. Just saying that right off the bat. I'm definitely not a financial advisor, and I recommend that everyone does their own due diligence and their own research. But what I will say is just put 5% or 10% of what you make on a weekly or monthly basis into stacking up Satoshis.
So we actually had some, I think like 5 or 6 episodes of where we were explaining like the basics of crypto and responding to questions. because when you're talking, I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel like maybe people that are new or do not know some of these terms might be losing you, like you losing themselves while you're speaking. Because I remember when you talk to me, I interrupt you every 2 seconds to ask you every single question, every single word that I do not know. I ask questions on that word because I need to make sure that I understand. So where can we find those episodes? Did you archive them somewhere?
Okay, so for all those that don't know what Sylvia's talking about, that was a series of 5 episodes that Sylvia and I actually did. And it's called NGP Speaks, and it's more of like a dialogue conversation like this. It was meant to be a podcast, and that will eventually be reactivated at some point in the near future. But yeah, that's available on YouTube. That's available to be seen on YouTube. On my yeah, but it was conjunction with NGP Speaks. So yeah, so yeah, it's available on my YouTube. If you just type in Nicholas G. Padilla, it should pop up on my channel.
Yeah, because now that we have a baby, we're like, education is very important. Understanding that the right type of education is very important, especially since I don't know what type of future he's gonna see, and he's gonna be asking questions like, wait, you had places where you would go and work for somebody else and make like $10 an hour or $8 an hour. I don't understand, how is that possible? Especially now, you were talking about a 7-year-old the other day that was talking about a project or something. I don't remember. Do you remember? You were mentioning the 7-year-old that had a project that knew how to do. I don't know if he programmed something, but I remember that there was a time, like few months, where you were obsessed with researching, and you would go on these different platforms where people talk, something similar to Clubhouse or Twitter, Twitter Spaces, and there would be like this 12 or 13-year-old. You remember?
Yeah, so this is a entrepreneur that actually qualified for Peter Thiel's grant series, and he was a special guest on a Friends with Benefits FWB conference call. This was a long time ago. This was a while ago. This is like last year. But he was a special guest, and they were interviewing him and he was studying at MIT. He was going to school for 2 degrees, I believe. He was a cryptographer, and he was a computer science major, so he was doing both. And he owned like 2 businesses. He was 13 years old. Yeah, he was 12, 13 years old. So, but he started when he was like 8. So, yeah, he was from India. So that's the future. These kids, they're on a different frequency. They're gonna find Gato, which is like an AI assistant task manager. They're not gonna have a team of people. They can just have an AI do social media posting and like note-taking, transcriptions. All they need is one program on their computer. They don't need a team anymore. So the technology that these kids will grow up with, if they know about it, like Gato, this artificial intelligence, is just going to expedite so much. So we're going to see a lot of innovation, at least what I believe. I'm not like a pro technologist completely, but I think there's a lot of downsides to technology evolution, in terms of the current state of it with surveillance state capitalism and data harvesting and things like this. But I think there's also a lot of positives outside of the negatives. And so automating assistant work to a super genius computer that's able to do 50 tasks or 40 tasks is unbelievable. So yeah, I would highly recommend that y'all check out Gato AI or Gato Artificial Intelligence, GATO. And Hermes' generation is going to have this. It questions what is work, right? Why have we been forced to do this? What is money? How are we contributing to our communities? How are we solving problems?
Yeah, you make me think of 2 things. One is what is the return of investment of our ancestors, right? All that they worked for, all the wars that they fought, the famines that they went through, all the things that they had to harvest, all the hard work, the sweat, blood, and tears. And what are we doing with our life, right? We decided to come here whether we remember it or not, and we are the prayers, the response to the prayers of our ancestors that just made sure that we were surviving, or our parents or our grandparents or great-grandparents were surviving those times by emigrating and all that stuff. So that's something that I think about, and I also think about when I had that experience, that near-death experience, and I was in the spirit world. They actually have also a currency there that is not the money that we make here, because we do not bring not even 1 cent of what we make here in terms of fiat money, but there is still a way of exchange, of buying things, of getting things, and that's more of similar to crypto, and it's based on the quote-unquote good actions that you did here, the good deeds, and that the karma, that's the real inheritance. So since we have 10 minutes left, I wanted to ask you if there is something that you would like to say, there is something that you would like to, if there is a message that you would like for people to hear, what would that be? And it could be on life in general, on crypto, on music, on art, creativity, on fatherhood. Maybe there are some friends that have their partners pregnant and they do not know how to go on or what to do. I don't know. Something that you feel in your heart that you would like to say in this last 10 minutes.
I would say follow your bliss. I was talking to Rolly, another MCI resident here the other day, and we were talking about fatherhood. If you feel like starting a family, that's cool. If you don't, then that's cool too. Just do what you feel called to do. Like, don't try to be someone you aren't. Don't try to people please. People pleasing is probably the most dangerous thing that you could do, because then you get pigeonholed. We were talking about this last night, ironically enough. Pigeonholed means that you're, I know it sounds super weird out of context. Someone just doesn't know what that term means. It's like, the hell does a pigeon have to do with a hole and so pigeonhole means that you're being forced. It may be direct or indirect, but you're being forced to do the same thing over again. So for example, if you're a famous actor or actress and you play like a specific role, like let's say you play the hero, you get casted, it's like typecasted, you do the same thing and you're jammed into that, and it's hard to pivot out of that, right? So it's like if you become a pop artist, like you become a trap pop artist, right? Or like you become like like a country pop artist or something like this. So, but when it comes to people pleasing, you get used to it. It becomes like a character flaw and a personality trait where you're just constantly trying to please other people. And I would say the downside of that is that you don't keep people accountable and you don't keep them in check, and you're not able to have hard conversations with them that most people are intimidated to have. So try to stay away from people pleasing and just try to question what you think should be manifested in the world and work towards that. And it's really hard to stay in your lane, especially when so much is happening. But if you're able to stay in your lane, and yeah, you can complain and critique and kind of be a little jaded and bitter about it, about everything that's going on, but you just transmutate that energy at the end of the day. You don't sleep with that, right? Because if you sleep with it, it marinates and it grows inside you and it becomes an infection, right? Or a disease. You have to detach from that and realize that we're just temporarily on this planet. Our bodies are rented. Our cars are rented. Our houses are rented from the divine. This whole planet is for rent, right? And we just identify and attach with this human experience a little too much sometimes. But even our names, our backgrounds, how we identify as an incarnation in this life, all that is temporary. All that is rented. And so if you're able to zoom out and detach a little bit from everything that's going on in the world in general, and just go inside, that would be best. Through meditating or through like yoga or through like prayer, just some type of attempt to go deeper within and question your own beliefs and just transmutate that energy. So That's what I'd recommend. Follow your bliss and do all that. It's yeah.
I was thinking about the next question, asking you, how would you like to be remembered? What would you like for people to think when they think about you? And I'm like, what do I think when I think about him? And the first thing that came to mind is stand for something or stand for nothing. So follow your bliss, stand for something, stand for nothing. How would you like to be remembered? I don't know why I want to ask you this question.
Just as a temporary incarnation, like, because eventually the beauty will fade, the material possessions will be sold, the accomplishments will become nothing but a faint memory, and the experiences that you make, though, on the way are immortalized, whether you remember them or not. And so, once you're in the spirit world, things are very different from here. So, I would just say don't attach too much to this incarnation if you have the ability to. So, and recognize the temporality of it all, because it is temporary. And this is the world of illusions, right? So, we think it's one thing, but it's actually another. So, all of life is actually an optical illusion, if we want to perceive it in that lens. So, yeah.
We still have 5 minutes. So, well, when you say like this is temporary, why then not YOLO? Why not just drugs, sex, and rock and roll?
Do it. Why not? If that's what your heart and your soul really wants to pursue, then do it. Just recognize that most people don't make it out alive. And remember to honor your ancestors that have prayed for you, that your parents, your grandparents that have worked so hard for you to be who you are and where you are in life. And if you want to do sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that's totally your choice. I'm no one to tell you how to live your life. I say that a lot when we have conversations like this. But yeah, if you want to live the YOLO lifestyle, then go ahead. By all means. It's just, it's a phase. We all go through phases in life. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for responding to all my questions. And guys, do you have any questions? Any last thought that you want to share with us before closing?
I think that's it. Yeah, Hermes? Maybe Hermes does. You got to say something? And with that, we close out 2 hours. That was a good one. That was good. We got a nice dynamic range on that. Okay. All right. Much love to y'all. Thank you for doing this. This is cool to talk and stuff. And thank you, Hermes. All right. Much love. Justice A. Gonzalez is coming up next. The ambient master and spiritual lord. So, yeah, gonna go ahead and toss it over to him.